Bored of standard multiplayer experiences? Here are the best asymmetric games you can play on PC. Playing games with friends is always fun. Suiting up together for a 6-hour-long Destiny raid or settling down for a round or 6 of Duck Game is exactly the kind of happy making that you always swear to do more often. But the games on this list do things differently. While most multiplayer titles have you heading in with the same skills as your fellow players, asymmetric games celebrate variety. Perhaps you'll be a slasher hero while your friend's Scarper, or a very squishy diver while one of the group takes on the role of a ravenous shark. Asymmetric games upend traditional gameplay models by giving you different roles, and the best ones make you feel like anyone can win. May the odds be ever in your favour. Here are the best asymmetric multiplayer games you can play on PC right now.
Enemy repelling in.
Friday the 13th resembles the best game of hide and seek you've ever played. But instead of squeezing under your bed and being forgotten about by your buddies, you're relentlessly stalked through a nightmare vision of 1980s Americana. As a piece of tie-in entertainment, it is perfectly pitched. Fleeing from Jason is an exercise in nerve-shredding terror because your flimsy counsellors are so pathetically helpless. Yes, you can fight back if you collect the right gear or if you're playing as Tommy, but the odds are rightly stacked against you. And as Jason, you're essentially a homicidal shipping container with magical powers. You'll rarely catch anyone walking, especially if you're playing as lumbering Part 6 Voorhees, but you can zoom around, smash through walls, and head off your hapless victims. Or better yet, drown them if they're stupid enough to go swimming. Somebody doesn't know their horror tropes. Chuck in some wonderfully atmospheric music, a few creepy nods to Jason's mother, and horror movie references hidden behind every shattered door, and you have an endlessly replayable stalk 'em up that's essential for 80s slasher fans.
That's my good boy.
First of all, don't judge Hidden in Plain Sight on its looks. It might be a little rough around the edges pixel-wise, but that's entirely the point. This is one of the asymmetrical multiplayer games to beat. Whether you're a sniper trying to spot your friends collecting coins amid a mass of identical avatars in Catch a Thief, or a knight trying to spot the ninjas attempting to assassinate your royal retainers, this is multiplayer gaming at its finest. You can play with up to 3 other people, and while there are loads of modes, you're likely to end up getting obsessed with just one, probably screaming one more go as yet again you miss out on slaughtering the monarchy under the nose of your watchful friends. You'll lose hours to Hidden in Plain Sight, but at least you won't be alone. Divinity Original Sin 2's standard co-op mode is interesting enough, with a host of varied characters, all with different skills, each of whom can affect their own changes on the world. But it's the Game Master mode that we're most interested in here. This fulfills the promise of a proper pen and paper D&D session in a pre-built game. It lets players craft entire campaigns, which can be shared online, or better yet, played with your friends. The Game Master controls the monsters and the environment, and the other players control standard characters. And that's already pretty cool, but it gets better. Players can roleplay, coming up with their own off-the-wall solutions to problems, which the Game Master can then decide by a roll of the dice. It's a deeply creative, engaging twist on standard multiplayer modes, and one to try if you love tabletop gaming but struggle to get all your friends in one place. Even better, you can even import your own maps into the game in case you fancy replicating classic fantasy adventures from other sources. The Eagles won't save you this time, lads.
Being compact's got its benefits.
Ambassador, I take it you'll be visiting the villa in Marseille this... Oh god, they shot Monty, I've got brain juice in my martini. Not only is Spy Party the best game about ruining a swanky shindig with a single bullet, it's also a perfect example of asymmetrical multiplayer. One player takes the role of a spy, schmoozing at an ambassadorial reception, the other, the sniper, tasked with killing them. If you're the spy, you work the room, flirting with NPCs, swapping statues, and whispering code words. If you're the sniper, your job is simpler. Work out who's the spy and ventilate them. What follows is an elegant, tense, unusual multiplayer game that tests your powers of observation and your ability to remain calm while the clock is ticking. It's the sort of game that could go horribly wrong if it was improperly balanced, but it works brilliantly. The last minute of every game is like the Hurt Locker with canapes and dashing facial hair. The second but no less gorily valuable slasher experience on this list is Dead by Daylight. Unlike Friday the 13th, which is limited to just Mr. Please Don't Remove My Hockey Mask Thank You, this is Murderfest 2019, packed with different types of horror. The setup here is simple. Either play as one of the 4 hapless survivors, desperately trying to restart the generators and escape, or the killer stalking the area with the simple goal of making them bleed, hanging them on hooks, and sacrificing them to an entity made up of what looks like demonic spider legs. It's a brave balancing act to try and make the victims even have a chance, but a unique upgrade system for both survivors and killer means interesting perks come into play. And while it's fun to play as the killer, the sheer hide-and-seek tension of clambering into a cupboard to avoid capture or realising that crows are giving away your hiding spot is the stuff brilliant horror movies are made of. Who cares if no one can actually swim with their gun out in front of them like a first-person shooter? Depth is sharks versus divers, and that means utterly perfect multiplayer carnage. Descending in a shark cage with your fellow divers often feels a little like how the cow must have felt in Jurassic Park heading into the Velociraptor enclosure, and quite often ends up looking rather similar. But there are plenty of tactics you can employ against the range of player-controlled toothy monsters of the deep. Instead of a bigger boat here, you're going to need a bigger gun. Invest in John Wick-style under-the-sea weaponry and you'll be able to take revenge on Jaws. There are 7 different types of sea beastie to swim around with or beat, and that even includes Jason Statham's best friend, the Megalodon. Playing this as the Lord of the Deep is a ludicrous amount of fun. Well, for you, that is. In its regular form, Left 4 Dead 2 is very much your standard multiplayer shooter with bonus spitting. But head into the various modes on offer, and here's where the asymmetry comes in. Playing in either versus or scavenge means that while you can still play as a regular human with an itchy trigger finger, you can also take control of various monsters. Want to finally know what it's like to snare someone with the long tongue of a smoker, or spew noxious bile like Linda Blair in The Exorcist? It's all here. And the good news is that even when you inevitably get picked off, who knew it was so hard to be a monster, you only need to wait 8 seconds before spawning back in and torturing your friends all over again. Monologuing is of course optional. Why don't you just hang out with me for a bit? Hang, because you're dangling by my tongue. Cool, okay, good.
This is going to hell in a handbasket real fast.
Crawl is many things: dungeon delving roguelike, fantasy bullet hell RPG, and the fastest way you can fall out with 3 of your best friends. Up to 4 people can play locally, with one person taking the role of the main adventurer. The other players become spirits, possessing traps and taking control of monsters, working together to kill the main hero. But the really interesting stuff happens when the player dies. The person who killed them then becomes the human hero and continues to advance through the dungeon, now hunted by the vengeful spirit of the player who got killed. This means that not only are you trying to kill the human player, you're also trying to land the finishing blow. And so it continues, with heroes and monsters becoming progressively more powerful until one hero reaches level 10. Crawl then is a smart, savage take on asymmetrical multiplayer and the perfect party game to ruin any party.
Gathering my nerve, I fled the madness.
In terms of distinct differences between groups of players, Rainbow Six Siege is perhaps the lightest asymmetrical multiplayer game on this list. One team takes the role of a counter-terrorism unit, the other the terrorists. After a 1-minute preparatory period in which you can scout the map with drones, each team then goes head-to-head to secure objectives, be it rescuing hostages or disarming bombs. It's an unpredictable, exciting, deeply repeatable experience where no 2 games are the same. And in terms of tactics and teamwork, there are few better asymmetrical games out there. This is rarely the place for run-and-gun solo heroics, and the lack of respawns makes every encounter fantastically tense. And, as you'd expect, communication is paramount. In Rainbow Six Siege, you work together or you fail. This might be time to consider investing in a new headset. I mean, come on, we were always going to suggest that.
All friendlies have been eliminated.
If you've ever wanted to slip into a suspiciously figure-hugging velour onesie and say engage with as much gravitas as you can muster, Star Trek Bridge Crew is the asymmetric game for you. Each player takes on a different role: captain, tactical officer, engineer or helm officer. And the interesting thing here is that the captain can see all the mission objectives while the other officers have to implement their commands. And best of all, you no longer need to chase the unlikely goal of finding 4 friends, all with their own VR headsets. As of 2017, it's possible to play the game without one, opening up a universe of Final Frontier fun to a wider audience. Alternatively, you can always give Artemis Bridge Simulator a try, which lets you boldly go over a local area network. But if you want the full Star Trek experience, this is just as immersive as having Captain Will Riker lean seductively on your workspace.
Hey, we gotta go. Punching.
And there you go, 10 asymmetrical games to play if you fancy multiplayer thrills with a twist. Smash that like button if you've ever chased your friends around Camp Crystal Lake, and share your favourite asymmetric experiences in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe to Logitech G for more top 10 videos, and hit that notification bell so you know when our next upload lands.